as artists, I think I like what you said. Is it's important for us to be unique and not be moved by the pressures of what's out there on a society or even social media fan base quote fan base unquote or whatever. I think that's the artist's power. Is to be unique and to have a voice because you never know. Like you might have something, a burden on your heart, or something that really bothers you. That 1,000 other people, 100,000 other people, might have the same thing, but don't have a platform to say it or too afraid to say it. And once you say it, you can spark something that like the powers that be could be like, whoa, I didn't know it was such a big deal, at such a level. And then, man, that's why it's so important to have freedom of speech. Like, like I could be a Christian and there could be an atheist across the street, and that's good. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what America is. Like
Yep.
you should be able to have, even, the freedom to say what you want to do and express yourself in such a way, and it's okay to be offended. It's part of life. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know one person who. I mean, I know people want to like this utopian society, but like when you put two people in a room, it's gonna be some issues at some point. You know what I'm saying? It should be like we can agree to disagree. And that's it. You know what I'm saying? And we can get along still, though, professionally or as neighbors or as whatever. I think that's so. Freedom of speech is important. Once you take that away, we become the thing that America was the forefathers were escaping from in Europe.
Yeah.
Censorship of religion, censorship of freedom of speech. I remember like reading about the Bible, how Tyndale Press, that dude died for trying to get the word out. You know what I'm saying? In
Well,
English.
yeah.
Putting the religion or not religion, but putting the knowledge back into the hands of the people. So
Hey,
like,
what about the Reformation?
yeah, the Reformation,
Dude,
Martin Luther, doom, doom, doom.
you talking about
Whoa,
censorship.
everybody,
And
yeah. Which one?
no one's exempt from censorship, are they?
Nah, man.
It's
But
everywhere.
I think it's on our generation's part to speak up and to be free. Otherwise, either later on in our lives or our children's children will be born into a society, a nation that does not have that what we had. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think art. I took a art history a couple of months ago, and one of the key things I always saw was that the people that were on the fringe were those that went against the grain, and they caught mad haters, man. Like, but because they did their art, like people had a way to express things that were against the government or against what was okay or normal or acceptable. Whether it was a crazy church thing or a crazy government thing, and they were the voices that now you go back in history and see, despite what the history books say, you can look at the art that's been carried on and say, wow, this is how people felt about a certain thing. So it's pretty eye opening how important what we do is. It's not just entertainment. Like we are like archivers of what's going on in our time.
Mm, that's
So
good. That's it, man. I mean, like the quote that I shared, it's like, if you want to avoid any type of conflict, think nothing, do nothing, be nothing. You know, one thing my wife, used to remind me of, and it's just stuck with me. You know how you just hear something and it's just like world changing for you. It's like, oh,
yeah,
you know. I remember she would tell me like she would be like, without conflict, there's never going to be change ever.
nah,
Not
never,
in your
never.
personal life, not in any other one's lives around you. Without nothing changes without some type of conflict. You know,
Absolutely.
speaking about another Martin Luther King, dude. You want to talk
Top of the
about?
line.
I'm talking about censorship. Like, imagine him speaking up the way he was. People did not want that. All the way,
Oh,
the censorship was so fierce to where his life was taken for it. That censorship
definitely.
it is extreme where people's lives are being taken for it. And he was like, I'll take that because I'm trying to advance this culture, these people. Not just for black people, for humanity. He's like, this is
Absolutely.
messed up, man. We need to change the way we're doing things. You know, Tupac on that song Changes.
I
He said, we gotta
heard his name.
change.
Yeah.
Conflict. We need to change the way we eat. We need to change the way we think. And we
We
need to
just we
change the way we treat each other
yes
to
sir.
survive. That's what he said.
Yes sir, man. Yes sir. That's deep, man. That's
He,
real talk.
he said, I don't think I'll change the world. He said, I think I will spark the mind of someone who could change the world.
I think it's a group effort. You know, like we all like soldiers, and we all have our lanes in life. You know, some of us are like local artists and regional artists, but like I think we should all have the same mentality. Like if you believe in your art and that you are contributing something that is of worth by what you say, then it's good. You know what I'm saying? Like you might not have to be the next person to get signed, but you can affect your community. You can affect. I mean, if you ain't affecting your community, I mean, where's the credibility? You know what I'm saying? And I think every artist should strive for that. Like, I mean, where you live at, where you rest your head, that should be the most important audience that you have to cultivate, or at least express yourself to where you can speak up for the person who doesn't have a voice to speak or a platform to speak the way you do. It's so important. So yeah, man, I just want to give a shout out. I just appreciate the flow. I was like, whoa, man, I want to get in on this one right here, man. This is some good stuff, man. So yeah, man. You said something that sparked some Elvis Presley. Before people saw his face, they thought he was black, and they refused to play his records on the main radio stations until they finally saw his face. Oh, that's a black dude. Like it was called race records. R&B. The R&B was called race music before it got popular. And once it got popular, we need to rebrand it and call it R&B, rhythm and blues, so that's more acceptable in PC. It's crazy, man.
It was called race. What now?
Race music.
Wow.
So like all the black artists, like they had like bootleg radio stations or like late night radio stations where if you're white or whatever color you were, especially if you're white, you would have to like sneak and listen to it at 2 o'clock in the morning and catch that right channel on the radio. And so it was like one of those things, like one of those how kids are, how we are in general, like that thing that's like forbidden, like they're gonna go and it makes it even more.
Yeah.
The mystique causes more people to draw to it. So because it got so popular and they couldn't stop it, they had to rebrand it. It's crazy. But
kind of like on the reverse. You remember that movie, The Five Heartbeats?
Yeah.
Remember what they tried to do with them? They was trying to give them. They wanted their talent, their music, and everything, but they didn't want black people on the cover. You remember that? And they was like, we're just gonna put some white guys on here, and I'm like, who's gonna believe that, man?
It's true, man. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So I think we've come a long way as a nation. Like people complain, but I think I've been overseas a couple of times, like all kind of crazy places. And when I see the way it is out there, and then what we have here, I'm like, man, we are leaps and bounds in a lot of ways. Like we have a long ways to go, but we can't do it on our own. You know what I'm saying? But we have a long ways to go. But when you look at that, you're like, wow, like you got people that can't. If you say anything wrong against the government, they kick it down your door. Like,
Will Smith showing up from the MIB.
Yeah.
One of them mind eraser things.
Boom, that's it.
Walk gonna be like this right here.